If you're a facilities manager at a university, you know students rely on the cafeteria for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and the occasional late-night snack. So when a dishwasher breaks down and dirty plates pile up, the mess hall can turn messy in the blink of an eye. Enter Grainger. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast delivery, the product you need now is never far away. So you can turn that dishwasher back into a lean, clean washing machine. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
I have come here to chew bubble gum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubble.
A plane has crashed into the World Trade Center in New York.
Trying to reconcile how Benghazi was not safe enough for the Federal Bureau of Investigation to go, but it was safe enough to leave a below-spec facility for our diplomats to stay in.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the Bloviating Semblance Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show. Ask me, this seems a little hot.
I opted for convenience to use my personal
There
email
we go. Not quite as much cut off.
Because I thought it would be easier to carry just one device for my work and for my personal emails instead.
Okay, less distortion. I like it.
Did not automatically save all departmental email until February of this year.
You got a belly up to the bar. We've kept your seat.
Emails were saved.
It's great to see you back.
Assumption that she exclusively used State Department emails.
Blaine is going to be your bartender tonight. He pours with the best of them. And the lava lamp is indeed lighted to my left.
I can report to the American people.
You're right.
And to the world. The United
We
States has
almost
an operation that killed Osama
weren't
bin Laden,
on.
the leader of Al Qaeda.
XSplit decided that it was going to take a dump tonight. And with last-second tweaking by Sackhead Sean, he's still here. It's a day off for him. And he's got his kids. So, here we are. We don't water our drinks, just like we don't water our conversation. Politics, religion, crime, culture, economics, race, sex, science, law.
In this present crisis, government is not the solution to our problem. Government is the problem.
We talk about it all here at the saloon. Nothing is sacred. The speech is free, but the drinks are not. All that we ask is that you flush the toilet, jiggle the handle, and please tip your waiter or waitress. This is a different show. It's a different mood. It's a different time here at the SHR Media Network. We had essentially what was the last Sackhead show last night. And Jersey Joe is going to be on the show tonight. And looking very much forward to having him on. He hasn't had his own show on for probably about a month now. And it's been a couple of personal issues with Joe. And essentially what he said is that he's in hiatus for a while. Don't exactly know. Whiskey Dale, good evening, sir. Good to see you in chat. Anyway, Jersey Joe had to take a hiatus, and now it appears that Sackhead Sean had to take a hiatus for a while. And I'd like to talk briefly about that before we get into the show, because Jersey Joe's not going to be on. I'm a little discombobulated tonight because I'm still dealing with, like lots of other people, may or may not be tonight, with the Sackheads radio show. The Sackheads radio show is no more, essentially. Last night was the last broadcast of the Sackheads radio show as we know it. It came out of thin air at the last moment. It was completely unexpected. Sackhead Sean himself wasn't prepared either. I got the call from him about the show this past Monday, April 2nd, and because of unforeseen complications, his schedule was now such that he'd no longer be able to participate in the Sackheads radio show on Wednesday nights. And he came out with his own explanation in Facebook. It read, "Thank you, everyone, for listening tonight and for the last 5 years to Sackheads Radio. It's been an amazing ride. I've had the privilege of hosting with amazing people. I've had incredible opportunities through the years to interview some amazing people, and I've been touched by fans and hated by liberals. It really has been a ton of work and a lot of rewards, and this isn't goodbye. This is see you soon as far as being an on-air personality goes. I'll still be involved behind the scenes with the SHR Media Network just like he was tonight, fixing XSplit. And it's been a true labor of love. I wish Sackheads Clint and BZ all the luck in their new show, Sackheads Against Tyranny. And we'll go into that a little bit later on. Perhaps after Jersey Joe leaves. He's going to be here for about 45 minutes up to the top of the next hour. It's going to be in the same time slot, Sackheads Against Tyranny, as the Sackheads radio show was, and that's every Wednesday at 11 o'clock on the East Coast and 8 p.m. on the West Coast. And he said, thank you for all the love and support. So basically what happened is that Sean was gobsmacked, and I was gobsmacked, and Clint was gobsmacked, and gobs all around the fruited plain were gobsmacked, and we went through the stages of the Kubler-Ross grief cycle, which kind of goes like this. First there's denial, then there's anger, then bargaining. Sean and I tried to bargain the fuck out of the situation, but it just wasn't workable. We're both kind of depressed right now. We're going to give it time. We'll hit acceptance because time wounds all heals after all. But you know how you go through some stages in life where the bear opens your lunchbox and just shits right in your sandwich? That's been Sean recently and myself as well, but basically for vastly different reasons. Just when you think you've hosed it out, you've poured bleach all over the damn thing, you rinsed it thoroughly, you let it sit in the sun to dry, and then you made another sandwich? Yeah. The bear opens your lunchbox and shits on your sandwich again. I hope this isn't too scatological too early for everybody in the evening. It does make me sad, and perhaps not in the way that people are thinking. You see, I retired from law enforcement after 41 years in 2016, and since then, I will admit, I've had a little bit of a difficulty adjusting to retirement. I went from basically your type A job that I possessed in law enforcement to very literally the next day being completely irrelevant in my mind. And so I met Sackhead Sean on Twitter, and we explored the possibility of my getting my own radio show on the air. Sean and I met a little time later at the Starbucks on Stockton Boulevard in Sacramento to talk about the situation. And after the meeting, we got through, shook hands, and I went back to my car just off Stockton Boulevard, and I noticed that I had a parking ticket on my windshield. Fucking city of Sacramento. But this was an opportunity for me to get back into radio, because decades before I'd already worked for terrestrial radio. I'd worked for KFPK, the AM and FM side in Sacramento, KERS, KEG, KNDE, KOBO in Yuba City, KROY, as well as some back east stuff, WWSU and Wright State University, and also WING in Dayton. Those were the days of, Sparta boards, Sparta turntables, Sparta cart decks. I can't explain to you what a cart deck is. It looks like an 8-track, and I don't have time to explain an 8-track to everybody either. There were Ampex reel-to-reel tapes, tape machines, and that's where you did your sound editing. You physically cut tape, okay, on this horizontal metal editing bar in either a block, a vertical, or a diagonal cut, and you did it with a razor blade, and you used white editing tape. I'm not kidding. So at the very first meeting, or after that meeting, I should say, Sean was kind enough to invite me on the June 22nd 2016 Sackheads radio show. That was my very, very, very first appearance on SHR. Sean warned me about Clint, though. He said, look, I think Clint is going to be good with having you on the show here, sitting in the studio. I'm not entirely sure, but I think so. I thought, okay, cool. Yeah, that's reassuring. So in truth, actually, they were really welcoming. And soon I kind of became a staple on the Sackhead show. And it wasn't until I literally carried their luggage in the July 2016 Freedom Fest in Las Vegas that they began to realize, hey, this old fat fart is for real. He really does want to be on our network. Okay, so they flew to Las Vegas. I drove to Las Vegas with all of their equipment in the back of my Kraut car SUV. So kind of like a bad tick that was like dangerously embedded. They finally realized that, I don't think the fat dude is going away. And that I would, I had the temerity to actually yield physical labor for them. But I didn't produce my first show on SHR Media Network until the first one was Tuesday, January 17th of 2017. So I've been on the air with my own show for 1 year and 3 months. And since then, Sean and Clint have quite literally garnered my everlasting thanks, but my undying loyalty as well. They provided me with an outlet to vent. I'd been writing a conservative blog since 2004 at bloviatingzeppelin.net, and it got me through hard times in 2004. And this then, right here, all of this around here became sort of the perfect confluence of diversion for me, application, concentration, and it was therapy, literally therapy. Here were two guys with similar backgrounds to mine, and whose conservative philosophies just happened to mirror mine as well. And so, like that said, I'm going to have to make again my own personal revelation. They happened to save me, okay? At the time, I was rudderless, and I was searching for basically anything solid in the tumultuous seas, the likes of which I'd never before navigated. Retirement. Much to say about that, but obviously only much later. Irrelevance was a status that I'd never yet experienced in my entire life. And I went from valid to completely irrelevant in the span of 24 hours. It's like turning your badge, turning your gun, give us your shit, you're out. But the Sackheads centered me, and I'm being quite honest about that. They gave me something to look forward to. They provided some personal dignity, some relevancy. It felt like I really had found a home with some really good new friends. And I did. I found a home and I found some new friends. And for that, I'll never forget their kindness. Because what happened is that, not unlike kind of a scruffy dog, the Sackheads rescued me. So that, frankly, is why, in my case, not having the Sackheads radio show to look forward to every Wednesday night, it just kind of leaves, at this point, a chunk taken out of my heart. It is kind of painful and reeling, and I'll tell you what, I have had to stand back. I did not anticipate this at all, in even the slightest. Completely unanticipated. But I know, I completely realize that Sean isn't going anywhere, and Clint certainly isn't going anywhere, except when he goes somewhere. But I have to ask you, each and every person here that happens to be here right now, haven't you been in a situation, it may not be recent, but haven't you been in a situation where just by dint of presence, someone or something is comforting? Hey, wait a minute. Here's Skype. Look who it is. Let's answer. I bet, I had enough to say about that, because here is our guest for tonight. Here is Jersey Joe, the reaver of common sense, broadcasting and talking to us all the way from Florida. And in Jersey Joe's parlance, it's about, what is it, about 11:15, 11:17, where you are, Joe, right now?
Yeah, it's 11:16.
Okay. So it's really late for Jersey Joe, and it's not all that late for me. It's like 8:15, 8:17 on the left coast, and, of course, in Bolivia, it's 19:23 and 17:18, 5.723 hours in Bolivia. So welcome to the Sackheads Radio Show. We haven't heard you for a while on the SHR Media Network, and I know you've got some of your own stuff to try to work through. Just like me, just like Sean, because I was talking about it just now for the first 15 minutes, and you were kind enough to appear last night on the Sackheads Radio Show and chatted about some stuff about Sackheads. But I'm sorry, go ahead, sir.
Once I heard the news, I had to call in. I actually feel a little guilty because, I take my little hiatus, a little leave of absence. And for those that don't know, I've done it because of health issues. I've started my own company, and I'm really trying to get that going. So that's taken up a lot of my time. Like right before coming on air, I was actually in my garage working on a piece of tree trunk that I'm turning into a bench. But I feel guilty when I heard the news because they lost my show. And I'm not trying to say anything great about my show, but I had a primetime 2-hour spot. And then the main show of the station goes down within a span of just a couple of weeks. And it's like, shit, that's a big kick in the nads for SHR Media. I know it's temporary for both situations. I care about the show. Sean and Clint gave me a break to come on and rant and rave and give my point of view of what I see going on in the world today, and I'll never be able to pay him back for that. And like you, I was rudderless also. I went from being EMS, fire,
yes.
There's that you are in control, everybody looks towards you,
yep.
And then it's over, and you're sitting here going, now what do I do?
Exactly.
Who the fuck am I?
What the hell?
Sorry, the language, but
no.
Who am I now?
It's like, what the hell just happened? And literally, it occurs, and you will attest to this, it occurs in the span of 24 hours where you were someone who was valued, consulted. I don't want to make it sound like a power trip, but you had authority and direction because you wanted to be there for helping people. And you didn't just help the populace. The cool thing about it was that I was always involved in training, and because of the length of service where I was, people would come to me for solutions to problems. I was a valued solver of all sorts of issues. And to be perfectly honest, I enjoyed it. There were some times when I hated it, but to be a valued member of a group, an organization, like a family, and the fire service, law enforcement, emergency responders, they're like a family. They become a second family, if you will. And then one day...
There's fighting in between.
Oh, yes, there is.
But it's like the brothers and sisters. As soon as somebody else steps in on it, everybody turns around and goes after that one person. Then back to the shenanigans.
Yep, exactly. And it's a valued family. They become an adjunct of your actual real family. I mean, you get together. I don't know. It's not exactly the same as it was, but it used to be that somebody would have a kid, you'd have a party, and everybody would come. And you had an anniversary, you'd have a party, and everybody would come. You had a birthday.
There's a whole clique.
A whole big slew of things. For example, in Sacramento, what everybody would do is, I don't know if they are popular on the East Coast, but out here on the West Coast, crab feeds are really popular. So I got into helping produce a crab feed. I mean, there was a time when I was working at EVOC that we used to go to 3 or 4 separate crab feeds in a season. And, man, I'm telling you, everybody came. You'd have everybody from one organization, everybody from EVOC, everybody from the range, folks from patrol. Yep. They'd all get together, and it was just a ton of fun. And it was a community, and you felt like you were a valued member. And then in the span of 24 hours, because life moves on, whether you like it or not, in the span of 24 hours, you go from, I had some value, to, let's see, I'm kind of lower than whale shit now.
To be honest, one night it really hit me, and I just sat there and I just started crying. My wife's like, "What?" And I was like, "Well, what am I going to tell my daughter?" As an EMT, I can tell my daughter I was an EMT firefighter. I saved lives.
Yep.
That's what I do, hon.
Yep.
I don't do anything. I'm broken. And it's not an ego thing, but it's just who I was. Everything I was on that rig.
It becomes part of who you are. And probably some people in the audience listening live, and by the way, welcome in chat to Jersey Joe. That's you. Welcome to you. There's Mike. There's the Traveling Cynic. There's Mary Brockman. Welcome, Mary. Your chair is awaiting. And Whiskey Dale. Welcome to everybody in chat. Thank you for being here tonight. But it becomes part and parcel of who you are, and to have that portion of your life end, unless you've done something that I didn't, because I just was a moron about it. Unless you really, really, really plan for retirement, or you just fucking hate your job, and I didn't hate my job.
No.
It's a kick in the nads, and it's tough to get over. So, boo fucking who, Bloviating Zeppelin. No one wants to give a crap.
No.
No one gives a crap about, you're tearing all over everyone right now, except that, as I said, timing was everything, and meeting Sackhead Sean came about, and then having a radio show and a blog to write about. For me, Joe, it was a perfect timing in the swale of a perfect storm.
I agree. It's for me, and it actually helped with my marriage, because I'd be sitting there bitching and moaning about shit, and my wife's like, "I don't care. I'm tired of hearing about it. Shut up." Because she doesn't exactly like politics. She thinks everything that goes on is stupid. They're just ego trip morons. But she's not far off. But she kind of has the attitude that nothing she does will change things. She does vote, but it's that mentality which annoys me. And still, even doing the show, I'll start bouncing. Like, I'll be researching something. I'll start talking to her. She'll be like, "Really?" Shit. And she was actually against me putting the show on hiatus. She was highly against it. But she understands, and like I said, the medication they put me on, I hate blood pressure medication. I hate it with a passion.
Yeah.
It just fucks with me so bad. But what we were having is for 3 months, 4 months, the medication wasn't doing shit. And my blood pressures were up in 150s, 160s, and the medication wasn't doing anything. So I kind of had to take it easy a little bit. And like I said, also the woodworking, I mean, it just, That's actually calming and soothing.
Yes.
Especially when you get behind a lathe.
Yep.
You're on that lathe, and it's hypnotic. And it just, like I said, I'll be out there. I was out there before the show. I kept looking at my clock and going, all right, I only got a couple more minutes of sanding to do, and I got to go inside and clean up. Doing a lot of this woodworking is very relaxing.
It is. It's like therapy. And I'm going to make another analogy in a few minutes. We've got about 4 more minutes before the bottom of the hour break.
All right.
I'll make another analogy. You find that it's therapeutic. I would guess it's calming. It's soothing. It's kind of like aloe vera on a sunburn. It's like the cool side of your pillow when you flip it over. And the radio show being on SHR was like that for me. It was therapeutic. And then there was another thing that I discovered that was therapeutic. Back when I was the range master for the department, and the department had 2,000 plus deputies. That's a lot of deputies. And when I was range master, I also said when we had AOT, which was advanced officer training, and all the people came down for firearms training at the range, I had access to them. So I thought, what better time when they're doing that, and ACB, which is arrest control and baton tactics. When they're doing ACB, you know what we're going to do, range staff? We're going to armor all their guns. We're going to go through every firearm in this department, open it up, and if we need to, change out parts. And so for 4 hours at a time, as these people switched back and forth for quite some time, we armored and rearmored all the firearms in the department because I just thought it would be a good idea. And at the time, we all had SIGs, Sig Sauer firearms, mostly P229s and 226s. And just by dint of laying out, a nice pad and having all my tools and accoutrements in front of me, opening up a gun, and I could just put my mind on cruise control and not have to worry about crap. I didn't have to worry about anything. It was therapeutic to go in there, clean everything up, make it sparkling, up-armor new parts when new parts were required, take it down, fire a couple of training rounds through it, a couple of test rounds through it, close it up, and get right back to the next one. That, for me, was therapeutic. In a fashion that I would wager woodworking is therapeutic for you.
Yeah. And then one of the problems I was having with my show is it seems like I was covering the same stuff over and over again, because that's what's going on in the media.
Yeah.
This whole collusion, Russia, and it's Russia, women, sexual assault, racist, rinse and repeat. And that's all it's been doing, and it gets kind of tiresome when you keep having to say the same thing over and over again.
It does.
It gets old, and I'm trying to do 2 hours worth of it. And I don't want to use the term burnout, but it just got to a point. It was frustrating because it was the same crap, but it has to be said because, well, the Democrats are doing anything and everything to try to ruin this country.
Well, very, very true.
Oregon, what is it? The Oregon governor has refused Trump's request hasn't specifically asked Oregon, but she said she will refuse activating the Army Reserves.
Well, that's true, and
they're doing
it's
just a childish maneuver. For number one, he did not activate Oregon, and she comes out in the media for it. And it's like, really, you're just after some 15 minutes of fame. Shut up and go back to her hole.
Yeah, she's after press. That if there's one thing that's very true, she's after press. In the chat room, Traveling Cynic asked if I was involved in explosives, and yes, I was. When I was range master, as I used to quantify, I was in charge of everything that went boom or bang in the department. And then before that, in the 90s, I was a brief member of EOD because I came to my senses right after I went to the Redstone Arsenal and decided that, I didn't want to come back and be named, like a bad dog, with a cute name like Tripod or Stubby or Headless or anything like that. I thought that was kind of bizarre.
Or Lefty.
Or Lefty. That wouldn't be good material for me. Folks, we're talking to Jersey Joe, the Reaver of Common Sense, right here on the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct on the SHR Media Network. I'm broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California. We're going to go to a break, come back. Jersey Joe's going to be with us until the top of the hour. Then after that, we're going to get into some more buttery political goodness, but please, oh so pretty, please don't go away.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Featuring right thinking from a left brain and doing the job the American maggots won't. BZ is fundamentally changing America one diaper at a time. Just when safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, where the speech is free, but the drinks are not. The Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night, commencing at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific, where pushback is a requisite art form in and of itself. Let your ossicles be truly liberated when you listen to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon, only on SHR Media Network. No ferrets were harmed in the making of this ad.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through SHRmedia.com, HighPlainsTalkRadio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on BlogTalkRadio.com. There's
no surrender ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
This is Sam on SHR Media. You can listen to my new show starting on Tuesdays in January. Get my perspective on national politics, a conservative's perspective on California politics, the latest in the war on terror, all of that and a lot more here on Tuesdays at SHR Media. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Sam_SHR Media.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
Beware, the Jersey Takeover is here. Every Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can catch Reaver Common Sense Show hosted by Jersey Joe, right here on SHRmedia.com. Only Jersey can deliver hell like no one else. So consider this your fair warning.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians, a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless, hope to the hopeless, clues to the clueless. Sackheads Sean, Sackheads Clint, and Sackheads BZ. The Sackheads Radio Show every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern on SHRmedia.com. Watch on YouTube, Facebook, and the High Plains Pundit Network. The best in late-night conservative talk, the Sackheads Radio Show, only on the SHR Media Network.
Go ahead, I'll say it
again. Some of the best A-roll is going to be B-roll.
Like, what are you talking about?
Just the last question that you cut a couple seconds.
Yeah, I'm a freaking artist. I can't just come up with this shit off the top of my head. Are you freaking kidding me right now?
Good point. Exactly right.
Hey, this is Sackhead Clint, and I'm with Sackhead Sean, Sackhead BZ. No communists allowed on the SHR Media Network.
Damn straight, mister.
Back to the show.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to The SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you're listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show live and direct from the SHR Media Palatial Studios in Sacramento, Fornicalia. I am broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, 2 miles from the veritable Bill Mill, the locus of evil on all the left coast in California, probably the United States, and possibly the locus of evil for the entire planet. At least the planet Zephron agrees with that. Folks, we're talking to Jersey Joe, the Reaver of Common Sense. And you put it up in chat, so I'd like you to tell folks that might be listening live and not be in the chat room, or who may be listening to this in retrospect on podcast. You have a website where you do woodworking and whatnot. So can you tell? Well, folks, let's stop. Let's stop just a second here, because this is the time. If I can't promote you, who the hell can I promote? Tell folks, Joe, about your website. Tell folks what you do and what they can find there and what they can get.
Well, it's www. Wait, how many W's was that? www.antrobus.one. That's ANTRO, B as in boy, US.
Okay.
ONE. I have to say that because I know somebody that actually put the number 1 at the end and was like, I can't get to your website. So, from there, I post the pictures of the work I'm doing. I have contact information if you want to contract me out. I forget what it's called. The artistic world has a whole term for it. And you can contact me. I do a lot of different type of work. Right now, one of the projects I'm doing is a custom cane for a retired Marine. Now,
cool.
My neighbor, he was Air Force, and he had asked me to build a cane for him because his back was bothering him real bad. He does AC now that he's out of the Air Force. And me and him have similar tastes with the music, so he thought I was going to go in one direction. Well, as I got the pieces in, all of a sudden it popped in my head, I'm going to do an Air Force cane for him. And nice. I think I have pictures on my website there. I'm not sure. I'm still working on the site. And but either way, one of our neighbors saw my neighbor walking around with a cane and said something to him. So he, of course, hey, this guy lives in the neighborhood. He makes these canes. So I get a knock on my door and comes over, and, you know, this one almost really got me because he's like, were you in the service? I was like, no, sir. When I turned 16, I jumped on a fire truck, volunteer, and that's what I did for a career. And he looks at me and goes, you served. That's the same as what we did.
Exactly.
And you know what? I've had that multiple times where I've had military guys that have been at war, and they bought me drinks saying, well, you know, you're the same as us. You just stay back. You know, we go to war and get shot at. You're going on the ambulance and getting shot at. He goes, at least I had something to shoot back when you don't. So that was nice, but I'm building take 2. The first one, there were some issues structural when it snapped on me because I tested. I'm a big guy. Well, I'm down to 300 now. Well, 307. And I saw some structural issues, so I really put my weight into it and snapped it. So I had to start back over, and now I'm doing a walnut. And I'm doing inlays in the wood, and then I'll carve out the handle. I don't buy pre-made handles, no nothing. I do it all myself. Cutting boards, I have fun doing them. They're fun doing the inlays, throwing different woods in. And like I said, right now it's going to be a long project. I got a tree trunk section. And I'd say it's about 3 foot across right now. And that's the small one that I started with. I have a bigger one. And that will be a coffee table. But those take at least a month. It's about a month worth of work on those. So, yeah, if you go to the website, www.antrobus.one, it's still a project, you know, in the making. I just actually finished the paperwork with the state and all that. So the company just is getting up and running. It's Antrobus LLC. And thank you for the cheap plug.
Hey, it's my pleasure. Like I say, if we can't self-promo each other and Bigfoot each other's shows, I don't know what we can do, which is another thing that I should recognize. When I first got onto the SHR Media Network, I found myself what I call Bigfooting other people's shows. And I went to Ken McClinton's show, and I'm still occasionally on there on Monday nights for about 15 minutes or so. And so I went and Bigfooted here and Bigfooted there, because I still did not have at that time my show yet. So I thought, okay, maybe it's time to see if you can spiff up your chops just a little bit. And I have to admit, thank you, Jersey Joe, because I would Bigfoot your air every now and then when you would have me on for a half hour or an hour or so. And so I have to tell you, thank you for that, because in the process of doing that, you helped me. I don't know, maybe you thought I was helping you, but in truth, just like SHR, just like Sackheads, you were helping me, they were helping me. And in retrospect, I greatly appreciate it. I should have thanked you a long time ago, but I'm thanking you now. I really appreciated it.
It was my pleasure. It truly was. I always had fun coming on air with you. I remember when at first, though, I was kind of intimidated because here's an older gentleman with a very
older,
authoritative background. So the first time you came on, I'm trying not to cuss. I'm trying to be a little proper. And all of a sudden, you just started cussing. We're like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. I'm like, oh, shit, no, don't worry about it. I'm from Jersey. I'm used to it. I was trying to watch my mouth with you. Trying to give you the respect. Yeah, it was no big deal. Free air, what the hell?
I had the hardest time.
Yes, I'm in Florida. I'm actually in the Tampa, Florida area. Someone was saying website says Florida. Yes, I'm in Florida. So I'm the East Coast studio. BZ is in the West Coast studio.
The funny thing about that is that, well, let me go back to a little bit, because I'm going to pump you one more time. Damn it! His website is called Antrobus, ANTROBUS.1, and when you get there, the website itself is called Antrobus Custom Wood. Now on there it says wood pens. You do wood pens, and they're gorgeous. They're beautiful, incredible wood. You've got custom.
I got to send yours out. I haven't forgot.
You've got custom cutting boards on this stuff. And the other thing that I wanted to talk about very briefly before we change subject and change gears, you also have another website called Reaver.one as well. And there was something that I promoted on the blog, and also I mentioned time to time here in the show, is that you make these. Now, I don't know if anybody can see this, but I'm going to bring it up to the camera, because finally I'm going to get my use out of the camera. I have a thin blue line, corded parachute cord, that this is personally made by Jersey Joe. He made this by hand. It wasn't a machine, and I'm showing it to everybody if you happen to be on either the SHR Facebook page or the SHR YouTube channel. And this is the kind of quality stuff that Joe makes in, correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, can you still get these at Reaver.one if you want to get a paracord bracelet?
Yes.
Okay.
I can still go to Reaver.one. I'm trying to keep them a little bit separate from the wood and stuff, but yes, if you go to Reaver.one and hit the store, and, you can put in all the options and put the order in.
Yep, there's a ton of different styles that you can get. Obviously, I was a copper. I was a sheepdog, so I got the thin blue line. But I also want to emphasize that this goes on my wrist, and once it went on my wrist, ever since the day Jersey Joe sent it to me, It has been on my wrist. You can do some things with these if you get into kind of an emergent situation. But to me, this is a little bit of a memory in keeping with what it is that I used to do. So if you want wood, you know where to go from Jersey Joe. If you want any of these paracord bracelets, you know where to go to. That's Reaver, REAVER.1. Okay, let's change gears. We got about 10 minutes, 12 minutes to go. Jersey Joe, I don't know if you've been reading about Deerfield, Illinois, but there's a township in Illinois that, in its infinite wisdom, they've decided that they're going to ban assault weapons. Now, this isn't the state of Illinois. This is just an Illinois town, one town, that's decided that they're going to ban what they call assault weapons. And what that translates to in left speak is anything that's long or short, black, has funny knobby things on it, and other pieces of equipment that look really, really scary. These are really scary pieces. And so the town has decided that it's going to ban assault rifles. And it's given the people there, it's given them 2 weeks to either turn them in or get rid of them or get them out of the town or out of the state. Because if you, according to their ordinance, if you don't, you're subject to a fine of $1,000 a day. You don't happen to have any thoughts on that, Jersey Joe, do you?
Well, number one, that is not going to. They're using that as a test for how far they can push it. The Democrats are.
Yep.
I believe it's Heller versus D.C.
Yep.
Where the ruling came down to basically the most popular guns in the country cannot be banned. And the AR-15 just happens to be, I'd say, one of the popular rifles. It's versatile. You can use it for hunting. You can use it for home defense. You can use it for planting. It's got a whole slew of things to use. Now, I'm laughing because in my county, Hillsborough County, it hit the news around here big. We had one of our county executives try to put a ban through. Now, the problem with that is, here in Florida, there is a state law that sets the gun laws. And it says directly in it that no local officials they cannot do any more stricter regulations on guns. They can't ban guns. And any official that tries to or does pass will be removed immediately from office at the whim of the governor. Now, of course, this guy tried 3 times, and it got shot down every time and he knew it. He said, I'll take the punishment. I don't care. He just was doing a stunt. That's all this is in Illinois. The lawsuits have already been filed. They will not let it go to the Supreme Court. And I'm trying to remember what state. I think it was Washington, D.C. I shouldn't say state. Within the last year or two, they were fighting in court that like in California, New Jersey, for you to carry a concealed carry permit, you have to show just reason why you need that permit. Well, there was lawsuits starting to go up through the ranks in Washington, D.C., I believe it was. Well, they kept losing. And right before it was going to the Supreme Court, D.C. went, we give up. We're not going to go any further. Because if we go to the Supreme Court, they knew that there's a conservative leaning on the Supreme Court, and they know they would have lost, but that would have set precedent for other states, New Jersey, California. and a bunch of others. I don't know all the states that have that requirement. But it would throw them out the window. So what you're going to see with Illinois, they're going to run it as high as they can up the courts. And if they're losing, right before it goes to the Supreme Court, they'll drop the case. This is a test by the Democrats to see what they can get away with.
Well, it's all a test. It's every bit a test. Mary Brockman in chat happens to say that her son-in-law, for example, has an AR-15, and he's a Democrat. She says they have a nice gun collection. Whiskey Dale says the Second Amendment is in the U.S. Constitution. Actually, it's in the Bill of Rights. Why are not all gun laws federal? Well, actually, all gun laws are federal, but each state, each entity is going to try to do whatever they can do until they're told no, for example. Mary Brockman in chat says her son-in-law says that there's no way they'll take our guns. So let me throw this out to you, Jersey Joe. We got about 8 more minutes before the top of the hour. Is there, do you have confidence, do you have supreme confidence in our various levels of government that there's no way that the federal government or the state or anyone else will take our guns?
Tough question, because you got a lot of really wimpy, and I'm trying to put that nicely, so-called Republicans that are in office right now that have been now willing, they're buying into the bullshit because, whatever reason, they're buying into the bullshit because some high school kids are protesting, and now they're, well, maybe we do need gun control. Do I think it'll succeed? No. Because if you look at history, and this is the way I'm going to, if you look at history, every time the Democrats really try to push strict gun laws, however you want to put it, they always lose elections and they lose power. And what they're doing now and other things, I think it's going to cost them big time in November. I don't see a blue wave coming. I see a red tide, I think. It's they're going to try to push it, but they know if they push it too far, they're in trouble. So they do enough to win their base over, and that's it. They know not to actually go full bore or try to confiscate guns. They want to, and actually, I'm going to jump over to another subject. I mean, it's on guns, but I'm going to jump. What they're trying to do, I don't know if anybody realizes this, and I've talked about this a lot on my show. They're trying to make it so that it's so difficult for the everyday person to get a gun.
Yes.
Now, they're not going to ban it right now. They're going to make the requirements so hard that you go, it's not worth it. So, as time passes, and everybody's saying it's not worth it, then they could ban the guns, because everybody would be going, well, I couldn't get one, I don't give a shit. And in the late 80s, after Reagan was shot, the Democrats hired a think tank on how to ban guns. And this is what I always went back to all the anti-gunners that say, you don't want to take your guns away. That's exactly, they did a think tank, and it was make the restriction over years so difficult, make it worse and worse, under the guise of gun sense. It's just going to make it difficult, and that's what they want to do.
Well, it's
that's why they're going to try, but I don't think they'll succeed.
Here's why California is a cautionary tale for everyone else. And folks, if you think that what occurs here in the far left coast isn't cautionary, you need to open your eyes, because what happens here is wanted all across the fruited plain by leftists in all their little blue venues. Leftists still think
can
that...
Can I jump in real quick? Because Mike
Sure.
just put in a chat room that banning ammo or at least making them ammo so expensive so that guns are unusable. They can't. Supreme Court has ruled that they cannot do that to ammo because it's part of the gun. So they can't do anything that makes it difficult for ammo. I see that often. People saying, well, we'll just make ban ammo. You can't. It's part of the gun. Supreme Court already ruled on that. Don't remember the case, but...
You can't ban ammo, but you can insist on modifications to ammo. That's already occurred here in California. You cannot have lead in any of your rounds if you're shooting, if you're hunting, whether it's hand-loaded, etc. Which is another... Here's another crafty little idea. A lot of people hand-load in California because there are so many onerous and terribly bearing rules and laws regarding ammunition in California in Ray lead. Magazines, you can only have a 10-round or less magazine, for example. Now, it says something about the laws, and this is how leftists think. This is how you have to think in terms of forecasting where the leftists are going to go. That says, however, nothing about the component parts of either firearms themselves or ammunition. There will be a time, I'm predicting, where, at least in California or some other leftist agency area, where someone is going to come up with a proscription against either the civilian purchase of black powder, the civilian purchase of brass, and or the civilian purchase of lead. And it will be couched in not, we're trying to proscribe anything that can be used in ammo. They will proscribe it in terms of, well, let's start with one, the obvious one, the environment.
Yeah, they tried something in Florida with the fishing on your weights.
Right, lead weights, sure.
Lead weights, they tried it, and that just did not fly. Well, you can use steel weights, and everybody said if you're a fisherman, steel weights are very different than lead, and no. And that didn't fly. But when you're talking about, and I don't need to cut you off because I know it's almost time, so I want to throw out two quick things.
Okay.
California officials have admitted that they passed laws that they know are unconstitutional, and they don't care.
Well, yeah.
California has to get some groups that will not just sue, but they'll push it until it goes to a federal level. Because California will have a choice of setting a precedent nationally and losing on gun issues, or they're going to have to back down. But a group has to stand up in California to do that. And Mary was saying about her, son-in-law, he's a Democrat, he owns guns. Mm-hmm. I want to point out that my father was shot. He survived, but he took 2 bullets. So I'm from a family that was involved in a gun shooting. And my dad doesn't own one, but he keeps saying the only thing they're going to do, they're empowering the criminals. And his saying is criminal justice. It's called that because only the criminals get justice.
That's true. Who can argue with that? Very true.
Yeah.
Folks, we've been listening to Jersey Joe, the Reaver of Common Sense. You can go to get the bracelet that I've got right here. You can go to reaver.one to find that. If you want to go to his woodworking site and look at, because Joe does have some photographs of the work product that he's got up there. Boards, he's got cutting boards, pens, etc. He'll do all sorts of custom stuff for you. All you got to do, Antrobus, I pronounce it Antrobus, Antrobus, Antrobus.one. And you can find his woodworking and custom stuff right there. Jersey Joe, it's the top of the hour. Thank you ever so kindly, sir, for being here. It was a pleasure, and we got to have you back.
You'll have me back, and hopefully, probably not too far down the road. I am off to the garage to get dirty to finish some stuff up before I try to get some sleep. Thank you for the airtime. I appreciate it, and I appreciate the invite.
Thank you, sir. Thank you ever so kindly, because in Jersey Joe land in Florida right now, it's midnight.
At midnight and about 75 to 80 degrees now.
Oh, so I'll make this. I'm sorry. Go ahead, sir.
I was just going to say, I got to, rub it in for the northerners that have been getting snow.
Which used to be you. Right now in Sacramento, it's 55 degrees, and it's raining like crazy, and we are going to get a big flood late tonight, all through Friday and all through Saturday, and up at my place at the 4,000-foot elevation in the Sierra Nevada mountains, I'm supposed to get about another foot of snow in April 5th, 6th, and 7th. Woohoo! At least no drought. Thank goodness for that.
Exactly.
Thank you, sir.
All right, BZ, you have a great night.
Great. You
Bye.
take care, sir. Folks, we've been talking to Jersey Joe, live and direct on BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show. We're going to take a break. We're going to come right back. Boy, I tell you what, BZ, I am going to be busy this weekend making new cuts, new promos, and new intros for the show to replace the sackheads that I'm going to tell you about when I come back. Don't go away.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Good evening. Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show is featured on the SHR Media Network every Tuesday and Thursday night for 2 hours at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific. Whilst manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, BZ continues to radically change the world of leftists, one diaper at a time. Stop balancing your checkbooks. Stop cleaning your fish tanks. The bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show is your magnet for truth, justice, obesity, a darkened studio, and late-night freedom. No United States of America freedoms were abridged in the making of this ad.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m., Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians, a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless, hope to the hopeless, clues to the clueless. Sackheads Sean, Sackheads Clint, and Sackheads BZ. The Sackheads Radio Show every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern on SHRmedia.com. Watch on YouTube, Facebook, and the High Plains Pundit Network. The best in late-night conservative talk, the Sackheads Radio Show, only on the SHR Media Network.
Go ahead, I'll say it
again. Some of the best A-roll is going to be B-roll.
Like, what are you talking about?
Just like the last question that you cut a couple seconds.
Yeah, I'm a freaking artist. I can't just come up with this shit off the top of my head. Are you freaking kidding me right now?
Good point. Exactly right. Oh, God.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on SHRmedia.com.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through SHRmedia.com, HighPlainsTalkRadio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the unpleasant blind guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on BlogTalkRadio.com. There's
no surrender ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
This is Sam on SHR Media. You can listen to my new show starting on Tuesdays in January. Get my perspective on national politics, a conservative's perspective on California politics, the latest in the war on terror, all of that and a lot more here on Tuesdays at SHR Media. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Sam_SHR Media.
Beware, the Jersey Takeover is here. Every Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can catch Reaver Common Sense Show hosted by Jersey Joe, right here on SHRmedia.com. Only Jersey can deliver hell like no one else. So consider this your fair warning.
Hey, this is Sackhead Clint, and I'm with Sackhead Sean, Sackhead BZ. No communists allowed on the SHR Media Network.
Damn straight, mister.
Back to the show.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome back to the Bloviating Zeppelins Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct on the SHR Media Network. You can listen to us live on Spreaker. Go to shrmedia.com. I guess that's how they say it in Boston. .com. Okay. All right. Let me say, when I first came in here tonight, I have to admit, I was pretty bummed. And to be honest, I've got a lot of work to do for the show that's coming up. And for people who may just have tuned in, as I indicated when I was talking with Jersey Joe, I used to Bigfoot other people's shows, try to get on so that I could talk to them, kind of warm up my shtick. I used to be on radio a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away in the 70s. After that, it's kind of a use it or lose it, perishable skills kind of effect. And I wanted to spiff up my act before I decided that I actually began a radio show on January 17th right here on the SHR Media Network of 2017. So at this point, I've been on the SHR Media Network doing 2 shows a day of 2 hours, or 2 shows a week for 2 hours. And that may change too. But it gave me the ability to kind of clean up my act a little bit, try to figure out how am I going to remove my stutters, my ums, my ms, that kind of thing, which is really important. And try to watch my potty mouth. Having come from law enforcement, I really had to watch my potty mouth. In the 70s, it wasn't so bad. Almost everyone had a potty mouth, and sideburns, and a mustache in law enforcement. It's just the way it was. Everybody looked like the lead singer for Queen. Okay, not exactly. However, let's go back into what I was going to talk to everyone about. The Sackheads radio show essentially is no more for a while, at least. I'm guessing months, maybe a year. There are a whole bunch of factors that are dependent upon Sackhead Sean being able to come back because his schedule was such that the Wednesday night show just didn't work. My show is on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8 p.m. Pacific. Sackheads would start every Wednesday at 8 Pacific as well. Jersey Joe went away, and I was offered Jersey Joe's slot. I don't know how quickly Jersey Joe decides that he's going to come back, but it was suggested to me by certain personnel that if you take Jersey Joe's spot, then you don't have to broadcast quite as late at night, and you don't have the audience that 5, 6, 7 years of the Sackheads radio have picked up, and you may get more people listening to you because you're on at a more accessible time of day, night, I should say. So Jersey Joe came on at 6 p.m. on Pacific, and he had a fairly darn good audience. Jersey Joe talked about burnout, and this is one thing I thought is Whiskey Dale says, yeah, mutton chops in law enforcement in the 70s. I couldn't have gotten away with it, but I did see it. And, oh, God, I have to tell you, I had this training officer at one time named Ed Denton. Ed Denton in concert with another guy named Jimmy Basden. Both of these guys were like 5'7", and they were called the Midgets. And they worked Beat 15 for the Sacramento Sheriff's Department in the 70s. Eddie Denton, until he died of brain cancer, poor son of a bitch, great, fabulous guy. What a trooper. Carried a 6-inch blued python. Eddie Denton, because it was, I swear to God, and you can probably find the photos to give evidence to this, there were white guys that actually used to get froze in the 70s, and some departments would allow them. And Eddie Denton was one of those guys. But Eddie Denton was also one of the guys where he would brook no crap from anybody. And the other thing is, you couldn't miss Eddie Denton because he was all of 5'7", dripping wet, maybe 150, 160 pounds, and had flaming red froed hair and a flaming red stash. Again, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, when BZ had his stash, mustache, sideburns, etc., and his hair, I had blondish red hair as well. At one point, when my beard was young, when I was a young man in college, I did, in fact, have a red beard. But I never grew it out quite as full as I have now. And one of the reasons I've done this is after having worked in law enforcement for 41 years, I said 3 things. Number 1, I'm not shaving anymore because I hate to shave. Number 2, I'm not wearing a suit anymore because that's all I did for 41 years. And I'm not wearing a uniform of any kind because, again, that's all I did for 41 years. Wear a suit, uniform, and have to shave. So much for the Sackheads radio show. They are gone because of a scheduling conflict with Sackhead Sean. But because Sackheads radio show has acquired such a very solid audience, we sat down last night at dinner before we got aboard the Sackheads radio show and decided we really need to have a show to occupy that same Wednesday night slot. And, of course, Sackhead Sean and Sackhead BZ, our eyeballs transmogrified over to Sackhead Sean, and we both said about the same time, okay, Clint, now, are you going to be available on Wednesdays? Can you continue to be available on Wednesdays? And Clint said, sure. Yeah, I can do that. Sean can't be here, so how about we have a show with Clint and BZ? The 3 of us said, sure, that sounds good. That's a really good thing, even though Sean can't be here. But we can't call it Sackheads because we don't want it to be aligned directly with Sackheads. It's going to be on SHR. That's not going to change. Still going to be in the studio right here. So on Wednesdays, it's going to look exactly like this, except the lights are going to be on because this is the effect that I like, working late at night. And we had, I thought, okay, this is going to take us days, maybe a week to come up with some kind of a semi-cool / puerile name, because after all, it is the Sackheads. And it has to make some kind of sense, and it has to be some kind of an acronym. What do you got? And we came up in the span of about 45 minutes with the we decided, there's the acronym, SHAT, which is Sackheads Against Tyranny. Now, it will not be the Sackheads show, but it will be Sackheads Against Tyranny with myself and Clint. And I'm in the process right now of designing new graphics, new artwork. I got to get all new promos for SHR. I got to do it over the span of this weekend because the show starts Wednesday and there's no time to lose. And I want to have a new intro for the show as well. So, just to let you know, the time slot normally occupied by the Sackheads radio show, that's not going away. You will still find a show every Wednesday with Sackheads BZ, myself, and Sackheads Clint, only now it's going to be called Sackheads Against Tyranny. Sort of a perfect time because, in my estimation, folks are attempting to force tyranny upon us. Well, we talked very briefly about the place in Deerfield, Illinois, where this village has decided that it wants to take firearms. And all the leftists, as you very well realize, have said for years and years and years, that's never going to happen. There will never be gun confiscations like Australia. There will never be gun confiscations and such strictures like the UK, Europe, etc. Well, except it's already here. If the 18,000, there are 18,000 people, residents in the Chicago suburb of Deerfield, if they don't literally, and this is in an article from CNN, I should care to show to you, if the residents of Deerfield don't forfeit or secure weapons that fall under the ban by June 13th, they will be charged from $200 to $1,000 a day as a penalty. And that's not meant to be a promise. That's meant to be a threat. And the people that are weak-willed will do exactly that, because there are always elements of the weak-willed in society, which is how crimes and criminals prosper. I'm not saying anything out of school. Everyone with a whit of common sense already knows this. The village, they say, they want a sense of safety. According to the ordinance, which the Village Board of Trustees unanimously approved this Monday night, it's unlawful for a person, and I'm going to quote here directly from the ordinance so that you'll have an understanding of what it is that they want or don't want. It's unlawful for a person to, quote, to carry, keep, bear, transport, or possess an assault weapon in the village, except if the weapon is, quote, broken down in a non-functioning state, is not immediately accessible to the person, or is unloaded and enclosed in a case, firearm carrying box, shipping box, or other container by a person who has been issued a currently valid firearms owner's identification card, which, because this is Illinois, right, Deerfield, Illinois, that's already kind of difficult to get. I'll wager not too many people in Chicago have an Illinois firearms identification card. Just theorizing, okay? Law enforcement officers, current and retired, are exempted from this. The ordinance makes very specific reference to recent mass shootings in Parkland, Florida. Are you shocked? Are you gobsmacked because of that? Las Vegas and the Sutherland Springs, Texas shooting, which that shooter, of course, as you well realize, why a bad guy with a gun was stopped by a good guy with a gun. What a shock on that one. Assault weapons have been increasingly used in an alarming number of notorious mass shooting incidents at public roads, public venues, places of worship, and places of public accommodation, the ordinance reads. So we need to do something about it. We need to do something about it now, because like any good leftists, you have to, if you don't have the facts with you, fuck me, you got to create at least a good emo argument, don't you? Isn't it incumbent upon you to go as emotional?
I want to talk to you about your daily news column, the self-explanatory title, I bought an AR-15 semi-automatic rifle in Philly in 7 minutes. Is that true? How difficult was it, Helen?
It was extremely easy.
Listen to this. So, back up a little bit. This is CNN, of course, and in concert with the article that I'm reading, you need to listen to this, because she's alleging that in Philadelphia, she can pick up an AR-15 on the internet, live and direct from Philadelphia in 15 minutes. I thought you didn't want guns in Philadelphia, but you're going to do it anyway just to show that you can buy an AR-15 in 7 minutes. Right? Okay.
I walked into a gun shop in Philadelphia, and it should be said that I could have done this in any gun shop. And within minutes, I walked.
Really, any gun shop, and that's another specious bullshit argument, because no, you can't.
Out. The 7 minutes was the amount of time that I ballparked between the time that I gave him my driver's license to when I realized, oh, I'm eligible to buy this gun. but it was mere minutes between the time I walked in and the time I walked out.
I know from reading your cover story that when you walked in, you were nervous that you were going to be nearly interrogated. Did you have to answer any questions?
Mm-hmm. Not many. I mean, as I said in my column, I was driving over there and I was very uncomfortable because I'm not a gun person. I'd never done anything like this before. And I was trying to come up with certain stories. If they asked me questions why I wanted this particular gun, especially this particular gun, the day after the massacre when we all thought it was still the AR-15. But other than a couple of questions here and there that I answered as minimally as I could, I really wasn't asked many questions.
I want to underscore, as you just said, this was one day after the massacre in Orlando, so you would think perhaps...
Okay, stop right there. Let's be honest. A gun dealer is not going to give one flying fuck about selling anything after any incident, because you and I both know, as persons of common sense, it's going to continue. Look at knife crime in London. Look at gun crime. Oh, Chicago, Baltimore, for example. It's not going to stop unless you confiscate, but you can't say that and you can't go there. So gun dealers should have reverence after every shooting somewhere in the world there's going to be a shooting. You really shouldn't be selling a gun just because you're in the business of selling guns, right?
There would have been some heightened attention paid to an individual who wanted to acquire the type of assault rifle that you did, but that wasn't the circumstance.
It wasn't, and to be honest with you...
But that wasn't the circumstance!
I was a little... I would think suspicious looking. I was nervous. I was sweating. I didn't look comfortable. I was asking for this particular gun that at that time we all thought was used in the massacre. The gun was one that was in the window. Individuals there were talking a little bit about the incident.
So the gun is bad because it was in the window?
About how...
So the gun was bad because it was an AR-15?
Horrible it was.
So the gun was bad because it was in a gun shop? Which is it?
But they were talking about how horrible...
Let's have more hyperbole, shall we? Bring on the hyperbole!
It was, as I was being sold the very gun that we thought was being used in the massacre.
The very gun!
Helen, how much?
$759.99.
She got a deal. Normally, they're about $800 to $900, depending upon if you can get them or not.
And so, after spending nearly $800, I assume, of the newspaper's money, what did you do with it?
I
dropped it like a rattlesnake. I couldn't have it in my hands.
Wasn't quite sure what I was going to do with it.
Okay, stop right there. Here you have an thank God at least she's being honest. Here you have a reporterette for some kind of journalism, whatever the hell it is, because primarily I don't give a fuck, and hasn't even thought enough about the story that if you can go in and get a gun in an amount of time, what it is that you're going to do with it. I've got a gun. Now what do I do with it? And then I have some more information about this when we come back, because I want you to hear the rest of this.
I ended up going to the police department and turning it over. That took much longer than it took me to buy the gun. Probably because it's not every day you have a reporter sort of stumbling in asking, can somebody please take this gun off my hands? They did. I turned it over.
7 minutes. I think that says it all.
Okay, 7 minutes. That says it all. Let's just hold on to that car wash for a second. Okay? We got about 7 more minutes before the bottom of the hour break, before the final segment. And I will say this, and some of you may say to yourself, "Oh my God, BZ, you can't be sure. You can't really be saying this." Let's do the if-then equation. Number one, this is a reporter who said, "I bought an AR-15 in 7 minutes." Where was the video? Where was the audio? Where was the proof that you did exactly that? All we have is your word. And let me tell you, if there's one thing that's been hammered up my bunghole after about the past 5 years, and certainly after 2016, is that you cannot trust a journalist anymore, one of the American media maggots, any further than I can pull a 1959 Peterbilt 389 behind me, because I'm that strong. I don't trust them. They've dragged me, the journalists in America have dragged me kicking and screaming to have this particular viewpoint because, in my opinion, Almost none of these bastards and bastardettes can be trusted. Period. End of statement. Now, having said that, in order to lend credence to her story, wouldn't she have wanted to have something like that on audio? Think of what a great story that would make if you not only had it on audio, but perhaps if you had it on video. Your newspaper, whatever outlet you're working for, and again, I don't give a flying fuck, should, if they're willing to spend that amount of money, $800 on an AR-15 that you so quickly got in 7 minutes out of a gun store, why didn't you spend the other $100 for either one of these digital video recorders that you could put on a lavalier mic and mic yourself up as you're going into the gun store, or you could get yourself a little video cam? Think of how cool you'd look when you put that video up on YouTube. Think of all the hits that you could get. You could become a Twitter sensation. You could have your own YouTube channel. You could go to Instagram. You could have your own Facebooky page. How great she would have been had she done that. Well, she didn't even fucking think about, okay, I'm walking away with this AR-15. Now what am I going to do? I know, I'll go over to the cops and I'll be gobsmacked and astounded. Stop. Did you then, and I doubt it, did you report to the police and file a report, or at least tell someone that you'd like to speak to someone about this gun store right over here in downtown Philadelphia, and I have the video and I have the audio to prove that I went into that particular gun store on this particular day and time, and after having laid down 800 large, I walked away literally in 7 minutes with an AR-15 in contravention of the BATEF Form 4473, which you don't get out of anyone that's reputable unless you sign that form, and then there's a waiting period, because on that form you have to swear before any lawful transaction is done for firearms, and definitely for this is, are you a nut? Are you a loon? Are you a terrorist? What's your felony record? Do you have any felony convictions? And so they're just going to turn around and give you a gun and let you walk out of that store because you put down your 800 large. You ever think about, my dear, because if you thought they were unethical to having done that, and I can't tell you what the laws are in Pennsylvania, I just know what BATFE says. But according to those laws, additionally, because it would have buttressed your story wonderfully, why didn't you have a video or an audio of going to the police department, or an audio or video of going to your local outlet? Because in Philadelphia, you can bet your ass there's an outlet, an office of the ATF there in Philadelphia, where you walk in, knock on the door, make a phone call, go into the venue, the area, walk up to the counter and say, boy, have I got a story for you, because this is just what happened. Because ATF is in charge of all the FFLs throughout the United States of America. And again, think of what a great story that would have made, which would have buttressed and added support to your story of any moron can walk, because that's the point. Any moron can walk into any gun store and walk away with weapons of war. By the way, it had a 40-millimeter grenade launcher, and he gave me 75 grenades to put in this motherfucker. Think of what a great story that would have made. So, damn me for not believing much of what this particular person was saying. Because as I indicated, I've been dragged kicking and screaming into thinking that I can't trust any of you anymore because of your hyperbole and your bias, and you're wanting everything that you say to be true. Because there are you want everybody to know, there are no honest gun dealers. There are no people who are honest in America that are armed, because doing that makes you a fucking nutcase. And that's the story they want you to know. Come right back.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show, also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Beware, the Jersey Takeover is here. Every Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can catch Reaver Common Sense Show hosted by Jersey Joe, right here on SHRmedia.com. Only Jersey can deliver hell like no one else. So consider this your fair warning.
Hey guys, this is Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show. Check us out every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network.
And this is Sackhead Clint. As the best-looking one of the bunch, it's my duty to remind you to check us out on our YouTube channel.
And don't forget to check us out on the SHR Media Facebook page. The best-looking one? Really? You going to go there?
No,
every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific, right here on the SHR
Voters' Choice.
Media
I have the award right here.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
This is Sam on SHR Media. You can listen to my new show starting on Tuesdays in January. Get my perspective on national politics, a conservative's perspective on California politics, the latest in the war on terror, all of that and a lot more here on Tuesdays at SHR Media. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Sam_SHR Media.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through SHRmedia.com, HighPlainsTalkRadio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on BlogTalkRadio.com. There's
no surrender ever,
because truth is not always pleasant.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on SHRmedia.com.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capital, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show.
And Sackheads BZ.
Wait, I'm Sean.
No, I'm Sean.
All right, listen, we'll figure this out every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Pacific, right here on the
Where the hell is Clint?
On the SHR Media Network, www.shrmedia.com. Check us out on Facebook and YouTube. Now, right back to this amazing show right here on the SHR Media Network.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, this is the final segment of the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct from the SHR Media studios, Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, 2 miles from the veritable belly of the beast, the Bill Mill, the capital of Sacramento, California, the locus of evil, where on a good night or a bad night, depending upon how you feel about it, the stench of odoriferous brimstone and sulfur wafts over the entire city in its evil, evil form. I've been chatting in the chat room with Whiskey Dale, and thank you for being there. And he asks, one of the final questions after we were chatting back and forth about AR-15s is, who the hell invented liberals anyway? That's a really damn good question. I can tell you who it wasn't. It certainly wasn't me. I'm going to go back to the article because after I get through with this article, there's another one that came out just recently in rebuttal of this past Monday's issuance of a proclamation by the Council of Deerfield, Illinois. The authors of the legislation claim that the law may increase the public's sense of safety, notwithstanding potential objections regarding the availability of alternate weaponry or the enforceability of such a ban. Stop. Anybody hear of this guy named Michalek? About how he's a revolver shooter and with training, and he's not a young guy. He was in his 50s when he happened to kick off this record. He had an 8-shot revolver and happened to put 2 speed loaders through a target, a metal target, accurately in about 2.8 seconds. That's 24 rounds, by the way. I just thought I'd tell you that. If you go to YouTube, you can watch that video. The man is unearthly. That's all I can say about that. But, hey, you know, if you decide you want to take all the semi-autos away, guess what people are going to be training on? That's right, revolvers. After all, BZ grew up in the land of revolvers, and that's what I trained on for years and years and years. And even the old fat guy got pretty damn good with a revolver and speed loaders. Weird. Objections, as you might imagine, have come in spades. On Thursday morning, the Illinois State Rifle Association announced that they and the Second Amendment Foundation had jointly filed a lawsuit against the village of Deerfield. Oh, that sounds so oppressive to say. How dare they file a lawsuit? It's because that's what they do, and they don't want to give up this Second Amendment. And a lawsuit should have been filed. There should be an assload of lawsuits being laid at the desks of anybody in any kind of a supervisory capacity in the City Council of Deerfield, Illinois. Just saying. They are blatantly violating state law, and they're violating the Second Amendment. Facts and evidence, says Richard Pearson, executive director of the Illinois State Rifle Association. He told CNN the ISRA has been receiving waves of calls from people upset over the ban and is confident the ISRA's legal challenge will prevail. And that's true. Every law-abiding villager of Deerfield has the right to protect themselves, their homes, and their loved ones with the firearm that best suits their needs, and it's no business of the supervisors or the city council of Deerfield. And let's get into the meat of the matter just for a second. The term assault rifle is in and of itself highly contentious, and no discussion of such a ban would be complete without such clarification. Since the expiration of the federal assault weapons ban in 2004, and I'm going to get into this. There are 2 posts that I've been in the process of writing for about a month now. One is about the Second Amendment and what's happening with regard to that, because gun confiscation is the ultimate goal, and any leftist who says that it isn't is a lying sack of shit, and they're lying to you right to your face, because that's the ultimate goal. The second one that I've been posting is California is Insane. I've got tons of articles about this. The Second Amendment blog piece is probably coming out first because, again, there are so many examples of, just be honest, I value honesty and clarity. Leftists, Democrats, American media maggots, just say that you want what you want. Gun confiscation. It's what you want, period. End of statement. And the facts about the assault rifle ban that Clinton installed in 1994, right after that happened, gun crime went up. BZ, how do you know? Oh, because I was working robbery and homicide and had an last load of cases coming across my desk every day because I happen to be operating as a detective in a major department on the left coast working gun crime. Oh, wait, I thought that weapons ban, the crime was going to plummet precipitously. No, bullshit alert. It did not. It went up. Imagine that. But that's a story for another day. I just don't have the time to go into it. Deerfield's ordinance sets its own extensive definition of the term. In short, its version of an assault weapon is a semi-automatic rifle that has the capacity to accept a large capacity magazine, detachable or otherwise. There are other aspects, including rifle editions and types of magazines. Like I said, it's all about the appurtenances and how scary looking they appear on the rifle. If it's black, if it's scary looking, if it has a pokey thing on it. Well, we have to ban it because that just can't be. As defined by the Village, the term also includes semi-automatic pistols, semi-automatic shotguns, conversion kits, and any shotgun with a revolving cylinder. So what do they want you to do with it? And they also provide what at least CNN has the guts to say is an open-ended list of firearms models. It obviously includes the AR-15, its variants, which have been used in an overwhelming type of blah, 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 blah. Well, let's continue with this because this article, again, with the audio that you just heard where the reporter didn't go into much detail at all, but they were, as she was doing it, both she and the other host were absolutely breathless about what was going on. That was a piece of shit article about a piece of shit subject. The information just wasn't there. But it served their meme. It served their purpose. It served their bias because that's all CNN has. When you don't have facts, you go for the emo. You go for the emotive because people of weak minds and weak wills go for the emo. They go for the emotive. I said it on Jeff Dunnett's show on Wednesday. And I think I've said it here before, and I may as well say it again. This is BZ getting all kinds of hot and judgmental. I'm not giving up my guns. I don't know how much more plain or clear I can be. I'm not giving up my guns for infants. I'm not giving up my guns for young children. I'm not giving up my guns for students. I'm not giving my guns up for adolescents. I'm not giving up my guns for young kids of any melanin count. I'm not giving up my guns for anyone, for men, for women. My wife and I have spoken to it and about it. I'm not giving up my guns for her. If I'm killed, if she's killed, we've both said, because I have faced down firearms myself, just like Ronald Reagan, just like other people. If bad things happen, it's just because the firearm is just a tool. And we both agree that if I'm killed with a gun, if she's killed with a gun, that was a terrible thing that happened that day. But I'm not going to go all 210 over 190 and decide that all of a sudden, because of me, the Second Amendment, who's here for tyranny and the suppression of any potential tyranny in the United States, and you're a moron if you think it can't happen here. Because, it's never happened anywhere else around the world. In the United States, we've never interned people here in the United States because the government didn't agree in times of war, let's say, about certain personnel. Oh, that's right. We interned the Japanese during World War II. On the left coast in California, imagine that. So just remember, it can't happen here, and your government loves you and will do anything that it can to protect you, except if you happen to be on the right-leaning. Just as I indicated last night on the Sackheads radio show, the city of Sacramento is much more interested in protecting its protesters than it is in protecting people who paid their hard-earned tax dollars, and it's certainly apparently not interested in protecting their fellow officers, the CHP. That's a story for another day. So let's see. If more and more the trend is that police departments, because of political correctness, are less and less interested in protecting you, the American citizen, the person who is paying the taxes in whatever venue or agency that is, if they're not going to protect you, who's going to protect you? A bad dog? Sunspots, tidal pull, prevailing prairie winds. What? McHale, what? Who's ultimately responsible for your own defense? And the answer is you are. So in the absence of cogent police response or timely or applicable police response to a criminal, how do you protect yourself if you're completely unarmed? Said it before, going to say it again to all those people who fervently believe that all criminals are good and that there's some good in them. I ask you, I plea for you, if you don't have a vagina or a scrotum amongst you, take a big sign, put it in front of your house that says no firearms in this residence. Put a sign on your yurt, leftists, that says this: if you have a collective series of bags, or a shopping cart in an alleyway, leftists, put a sign on it that says no firearms in my shopping cart, no firearms in my yurt. If you're in an apartment in an urban rat cage on the 75th floor, you should put a sign on that apartment door that says no firearms in this apartment. And if you have a building, if you leftists, if you own it yourselves, you should have a big sign on that apartment building itself that says no firearms in this apartment building. Hey, put up or shut up, okay? But, yeah, another if-then situation where if you had that occur on Monday, you knew that gun advocates were going to sue Deerfield for that ban on semi-automatic rifles, et al., etc. So, like I said, gun rights advocates today, Thursday, because it's still Thursday on the left coast, although it's Friday on the far right coast, sued an Illinois village over its new ban on military-style semi-automatic assault rifles and high-cap ammunition magazines. High-cap, 10-plus rounds, high-cap. I know of 8-round revolvers that you can buy right now. One of them I have with Smith & Wesson. Wow, how does that happen? They are indicating the ordinance not only stops purchases, but could lead potentially to confiscations. The ban passed by the Deerfield Village Board earlier this week flies in the face of state law. And the Illinois-based Guns Save Lives, they also vowed to file a lawsuit. This is, of course, knee-jerk reaction to the shootings that we've had in school recently. And they are getting sued, and it's proper that they should be getting sued. Got about 10 more minutes. I think I've beaten that to death. Let's go to California, because California, in its leftist infinite wisdom, has... stop right there. Our governor is Jerry Moonbeam Brown. He was governor first in 1972, 1973. He was driving a brownish gold Plymouth Satellite because he didn't want to take the state of California car. And he was not living in the governor's mansion at the time, but wanted to live in an apartment, which he did directly across the street from the state capitol, because these are statements that he's making. Well, he's governor again, but not for long. Waiting in the wings. Anybody know Kimberly Guilfoyle? She's on the 5 on Fox. Here's kind of a strange statement for you. Gavin Newsom, who is running for governor and comes from San Francisco. Were you aware that Gavin Newsom, who is much further left than Jerry Brown — Jerry Brown is like leftist light these days — Kimberly Guilfoyle was married to Gavin Newsom. And I also happen to know Gavin Newsom's father because he was living up near me and happened to meet him. And he was a DCA judge for a while, which is how Gavin got interested in the law in the first place. So it's pretty much been accepted Gavin Newsom is going to be the new California governor to replace Jerry Brown. And the California says, because California borders with Mexico, are we going to send our National Guard units to the border like Trump says? President Donald Trump needs states' consent to execute in his plan to secure the border with Mexico, the National Guard troops. Secure it with National Guard troops. While leaders of two of these border states promptly embraced Trump's proposal on Wednesday, California was less enthusiastic. This request, as with others we've received from the Department of Homeland Security, including those for additional staffing in 2006 and 2010, will be promptly reviewed to determine how best we can assist our federal partners, California National Guard spokesman Lieutenant Colonel Tom Keegan said in a statement issued on behalf of Governor Jerry Brown's administration. We look forward to more detail, including funding, duration, and end state. The White House is yet to provide very many specifics on the plan, which President Trump first floated during a press conference with the presidents of 3 Baltic nations earlier this week on Tuesday. So is it a shock to you that California is saying, no, I don't think we're going to have to really look at this very seriously? As a matter of that, the Oregon female governor, has said that if Trump asks about sending her National Guard troops down there, she's going to say no. No, you get no National Guard troops. Of course, she had to make that statement just because it is a statement, and it's not about, unless, I don't know, maybe she's sufficiently stupid to not realize that the state of Oregon is not a border state with Mexico, although in her heart, in her squishy little heart of hearts, I bet she wishes that she was on the border with Mexico. Here's a fun little last story for everybody tonight. And again, it has to do with the state of California, because being here is a privilege. It's not a right. You don't have a right to live in California if you're a Caucasoid or if you're anybody but an illegal or your melanin count has to be up to a certain percentile. It's a privilege to be here in the state of California. It's a privilege to pay the highest taxes in the nation. It's a privilege to pay the highest gas taxes in the nation. It's a privilege to be the last state in terms of quality across the United States. It's a privilege to have hot and cold dripping homeless people and nuts running around your street. It's a privilege to be here in the state of California. You better fucking realize it soon. Here's another story. This is from the leftist newspaper. I thought it was fairly leftist when I worked for it. I worked for McClatchy when I was doing broadcasting. Clint, if you're watching this, I know you're laughing. But it's Sacramento Bee, the Sacramento Bee, owned by McClatchy. And it was one of the things they didn't have to divest. If I'm not mistaken, I could be mistaken about that, because McClatchy is basically a network now. They had, at one point, the McClatchy organization had a lot of radio stations, they had a lot of TV stations, and a ton of newspapers. So communications in California, it was a pretty damn big and important conglomerate, one that I used to work for when I was in my glorious youth, and I was a registered Democrat at the time. Here's an article from the Sacramento Bee entitled, "You're going to love this. You're going to love this. More than 1 million undocumented immigrants have received California driver's licenses," and the Sacramento Bee is proud of that. And the state of California is proud of that. They've issued over 1 million driver's licenses to illegal immigrants in the state of California. More than 1 million undocumented. I'm sorry, I forgot to add this highly critical word. Undocumented immigrants have received driver's licenses, the state of California Department of Motor Vehicles breathlessly announced yesterday on Wednesday. Oh, that's such good news. House. Assembly Bill 60, authored by then-Assemblyman Louis Alejo in 2013, required California DMV offices to issue driver's licenses to undocumented immigrants as long as they can prove their identity and residence within the state. The law has led to 1,001,100,000 undocumented immigrants receiving licenses as of March 31st, but doesn't give the licensees carte blanche to drive outside of California or fly across state or federal borders. Now, stop right there just with the article. I got about another 4 minutes left before the end of the show. Now, what does that tell you? If other states don't recognize driver's licenses, or if the federal government doesn't recognize driver's licenses for illegals, then what's the purpose of giving this if a license cannot be recognized just like I enjoy and other people enjoy? What's the point of giving them, and it is a them, illegals, them, make no mistake, them, Mexicans, them, illegals, make no mistake. I'm not trying to use pablum speech or mealy words. It's them. They are a them. What's the point? The point is to get them into California's system. The point is to get them into the system and bury them. The point is to get them into the system, bury them so that they can go to other states, say, look, and for the stupid among the folks in the other states, go, oh, look, that looks like a California driver's license. So, you get all the good shit that we have to offer you in Ohio, in Oklahoma, in Montana, in the state of New York, in the state of Washington, because, hey, you're already in the system. Once we got you in the system, and that was the point, to get you in the system, then think of all the good buttery free cheese crap that you can get afterwards. And boy, you can. Immigrants are getting tested, licensed, and insured. I'm certain they're getting insurance. Don't you feel confident, don't you, that illegal Mexicans et al. They're going out of their way to go to any insurance office and say, I'm an illegal, but I want to do, because I already obey laws so well because I'm an illegal, I want to continue obeying laws, and that's their motivation for going to insurance offices to get insurance when they drive, because they're such great obeyers of the law. In any event, it goes without saying. Does it not? And this is making our roads safer for everyone, says Alejo, now a Monterey County supervisor, in a prepared statement today. We see the law working the way it was intended to and has dramatically improved the lives of 1 million immigrants and their families. As I say, you always have to ask, what's the motivation for all of this? What is the motivation for all of this? Is it to bring people out of the woodwork and assimilate them into society so that they can pay taxes and get licenses and be good, law-abiding citizens, because that's what they are in the first place, law-abiding citizens? And we have no interest whatsoever as the state of California to making sure that we can screw over the system so that we can get more votes just for the leftists, Democrats, and the American media maggots all across the fruited plain, right? Right. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thanks for listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct here, broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California. If you want to contact me, you can go to my blog, bloviatingzeppelin.net. I am on Twitter at BZEP, B-Z-E-P. You can send me nastygrams, bz at shrmedia.com. My original intro music is by Possessed Tranquility. You can find them on reverbnation.com. And my promotional consideration is by Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, the Boeing Corporation. If it ain't Boeing, I ain't going. And, of course, Fine Engines, Pratt & Whitney, makers of propellers and Fine Engines Thrust. you can trust. Thanks to my personal KC-135 Kettle One refueling team with whom I will be consorting in less than an hour. And I want to thank you. First, thank Jersey Joe for being on the show tonight. I want to thank you for listening live. I want to thank the people for listening in podcast. I want to thank everybody for being in the chat room tonight. You have a great weekend, and I say to you personally, from me to you, God bless. Take care. Be safe. Good night.
Everybody quiet down now and get some sleep.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Ben.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy.
Good night, children.
Good night, Daddy. Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob.
What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing?
Good night,
Jim Bob. Go to sleep.
Good night, and good luck.